It's time for Coffee with the Chicken Ladies, a podcast for people who love chickens.
Hey everybody and welcome. It's Chrisie&Holly from Coffee with the Chicken Ladies. We're here and this is episode number 25 of our podcast where we talk about everything chicken, family, fun, and
more chickens.
More chickens. We drink a ton of coffee. I'm talking a ton. But most importantly,
we hug chickens every day.
Every day and kiss them too. Don't forget. We brew coffee from a little coffee house here in Bel Air, Maryland. Coffee. Holly Ann, what kind of coffee are we brewing today?
It's a cold brew.
Cold brew because it's a little warm and it's spring. And they have the best cold brew over at Coffee.
It's really good.
It's really good. If you are a fan of delicious cold brew or any kind of coffee and delicious pastries and other really yummy things and you're local, head on over to Coffee. You will not be disappointed. It's May. This is the time of year we've been waiting for all along.
Yeah.
Holly does not seem as enthused as I am about the weather.
The thing is, for the last...
It's been rainy, but...
Well, the last 17 years, May for me means shearing.
Oh, yeah.
And shearing is exhausting. And so... I've always shorn the lambs and alpacas myself, and they are shorn for this year.
Good.
Wore me out, man. I am 17 years. I was a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm old. Let's just say that. And we're not even doing the sheep ourselves this year. We're just getting a shearer to do
That's good.
So we're waiting on her to come. So that's finished. What's up on your side?
Well, we are thinking about starting that coop soon.
Yeah.
Which has to be started soon. And just kind of, Joe has a plan in mind. So I'm letting him go with the plan.
Okay.
And our friend Ryan, actually, who lives very close to us, said he has some lumber in his yard. So we are going to take him up on it because this lumber crisis that we're in right now and steel is crazy.
Oh, the prices have gone sky high. We are actually salvaging as much as we can. I'm going to check with my brother-in-law and see what he usually has some stuff.
Yeah. And we have some stuff left over from the run.
That's perfect.
So we have it in our barn and we're like, whatever. We're going to use whatever we have.
Right. Yeah.
You can make it sturdy. So that's where we are. We got to also redo the roof of the big girl run.
Right.
So we have the joists, the brackets to go up on top.
Do you have the timbers to go up there?
I don't know. That is not my specialty.
Okay. But if that's the only thing you end up buying, that's not too bad.
No, it won't be too bad because their roof does need to be redone.
Right.
It's worked. It's not, as pretty as I would like it
right
now. So, yeah. But the coop, that way the babies have a really good place. And they're going to be two flocks, but brought together as one, basically. And they might, decide, I'm going to sleep over there tonight.
They might, but it's good to have that extra space. You just never know when you need it.
Oh, yeah. So how are your babies doing?
They're great. They're getting big. We generally have them out every day in the pen that's next to the big yard where they're going.
Yeah.
The Jersey Giants are fascinated with them. All the Jersey hens run over. Agatha Christie is adorable, and she sort of sticks her head through the fence and helps them forage. It is so cute. Ruth Bader Ginsburg does it for the most part. She does the same thing. But Esther, who's always been the sweetest of the Jersey Giant girls with people.
She's like, get out.
She will peck them right in the head. It's awful.
Have they gotten pecked in the head?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. She is not happy with the babies for whatever reason.
Yeah. So I have the integration cage that's always up. Because if you have to move a chicken for a few minutes, I use it for all the chickens.
Right.
So they've been out there. They love it. I did that video I put up on Instagram.
Oh, that's cute. Yeah.
It was like a time lapse. I just set the camera there, the phone there, and took some video. And they were loving life.
Yeah.
So they've been going out there. Plus, I try to sit with them and free range with them. And I'm going to tell you, we did that episode on Rhode Island Reds.
Right.
Spicy is proving us wrong on so many different levels.
Well, the whole thing, like I said, is that one by themselves is a whole different entity than a flock of Rhode Island Reds.
And the other thing that we always say is you get what you put in.
Absolutely.
But from the beginning, this chicken has wanted to be on you.
Yeah. She's very bold for a chicken. She runs right to you.
So she did the patent the other day. I'm sitting there and she's been doing this lately where she flies up to the lap and just lays down. So I'm like, yeah, this is going to be great.
It's great.
Here's the other thing I'm noticing about the chicks. The breeds that we've picked this year, they are lazy.
Oh my goodness. If you did not also have leg bar chicks, I honestly would probably have taken our leg bars to the vet by now. Because I'm like, they lay around all the time. I don't know what's wrong with them.
So the other day we had bad weather. And I'm like, okay, you girls aren't going outside. The weather's too bad.
Yeah.
So I have them in a pop-up in the garage, but they can I let them out of the pop-up and they just run the whole garage.
Yeah.
Right? So I put a blanket down on the floor in the garage. It's kind of comical that I'm in the garage sitting on a blanket like it's a picnic.
Well, why not?
And I'm talking to you on the phone. And at one point, instead of running, they all just flop and lay down on the ground.
It's cozy. Why not?
And then I look around and they're all coming up on the blanket. Just lay down. They're like, yeah, we don't need to be running. We picked lazy chicks.
It's definitely, so Croissant de Faverolles definitely lays down a lot. Fran, the leg bar, definitely does, but B, the other leg bar, always laying down. She's always sprawled out and relaxed. Where Mary Berry, the speckled Sussex, will run up and jump on everybody and sort of wake them up.
The fact that your speckled Sussex is the most active one is kind of crazy.
She's the most active one out of that bunch, but she doesn't even hold a candle to those Fiomies.
Yeah, so Katie T. Biscuit is not one of our most active ones.
No.
And then Eliza and Angelica, they're the Faverolles. Yeah. Definitely lay down more than they walk.
They lay down a lot.
And then Cornelia and Peggy lay down a lot. But Cornelia, she'll fly up. She flew up on me along with Spicy.
Okay.
So it's so kind of comical. Like you're sitting there and Spicy's like going up to everybody like, come on, let's play. And they're just like, oh my God, are you kidding me? I'm so tired.
And don't get the idea that they're not moving at all. They're fine. They're perfectly healthy.
Oh yeah. They just like
to lay around sometimes.
They like to lay around and then they groom themselves. And it's so
They're doing all
cute.
the normal chick things that they're supposed to do. There's nothing wrong with them. We're just not used to seeing chickens quite that laid back.
So laid back. It's beyond cute.
Yeah.
They run a little bit and then they're like, hey, I'm just going to sit on your lap. But I think for them to go in with the lavenders is perfect.
Oh, yeah. That's definitely the right place
Although
to put
the
them.
lavenders look highly active next to the chicks.
We'll have to see how they are once they're out there permanently.
Oh, my God. It's going to be hilarious.
They are a funny bunch.
They are. So are we ready to move into our breed spotlight? Yeah.
Yes.
I went with a little 80s rock today.
It was like a ballad.
Yeah, that was our time, man.
Hair ballad, man. Our breed this week is the Barred Rock.
The Plymouth Barred Rock.
Also known as the Plymouth Rock.
Yep. Let's set it straight for everybody. Barred rocks. Barring is the black and white zigzag pattern,
it's the pattern,
on the chicken.
Right. That's why they are barred.
That's why that word is in there, barred.
Right.
In the very beginning, when I just started, you kind of don't know that's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Until you figure it out.
Right.
But barring is the way that the feathers grow to make it look like you have black and white.
That pattern is also known as cuckoo. So the Barred Plymouth Rocks, they were the original color. So again, that's why you hear Barred Rock. They just dropped the Plymouth.
Yeah.
But every other color, you'll hear like White Rock or Blue Rock or Buff Rock, etc.
We saw a lot of our local places this year having rocks.
Yeah. Yep.
And all different color rocks.
Yeah.
That's the first time in forever I've seen that.
Part of that is because a lot of the local places all got their chicks from the same hatchery.
Yeah.
And they offered a lot of the different colored rocks.
Because before, all you saw were the Plymouth Barred rocks.
Right, exactly. The Barred Rock, yeah. So the barring probably came from a Dominique, an early straight comb variety, not the later rose comb.
Yeah.
Standards of perfection variety. It would have been an earlier version. And most likely it was crossed with a Java.
Okay, which is also one of our favorites.
Absolutely. But sometimes you'll see that Cochin is named as the other foundation breed.
Okay.
Various sources that I've looked up have said it was most likely that early Dominique and a Java.
That's everything that I've kind of looked up to in the past. It basically said that it's very, very heavily of Dominique.
That's what it says in the Standards of Perfection and a couple of other places. There are other breeders, I guess in the 19th century, other breeders claim to be the developers of the breed with other foundation breeds, including the Black Spanish.
Okay.
And some other colored Cochins.
Okay. I can kind of see it.
Maybe. I mean, it's just a claim. There's nothing to substantiate it. I don't know how the colors would work out, et cetera, et cetera. But the breed was most likely developed in like the mid-1800s.
Right.
And it was refined to the point of being shown at America's first poultry show in Boston in 1849.
And if there were an Instagram, that show would have been all over it.
How fun would that be?
I mean, can you imagine all the ladies in all their big dresses coming with their chickens?
Yeah, in the 1850s, absolutely.
Yeah.
The Barred Plymouth Rock was first recognized as a distinct breed in 1873, and it appeared in the APA's first Standard of Perfection printing.
Right. Which, okay, makes sense because when you think of this chicken, you're thinking of kind of way back early Americans and everything else.
Well, yeah, there's a myth attached to this, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But again, the other varieties of Plymouth Rock chickens came later. So the other colors, starting with the White Rock that was in the standards in 1888.
Okay.
The other accepted colors are blue, silver penciled, which must be lovely.
I've never seen one of those.
Me either. Partridge, Colombian.
Which is like your Brahmas.
Exactly, the light Brahma. That's a Colombian. And a Buff Rock.
They kind of all would have that same classic hen shape or body shape.
Right, yeah.
To me, being out there, what's the most well-known is the Plymouth Barred.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Barred Rock is definitely the first
the first in the line of them.
that you tend to see, right? And a lot of people have trouble distinguishing the Barred Rocks from Dominique's.
We've seen that. And basically, the number one way to do that is look at their combs.
Absolutely.
The Barred Rocks are going to have a straight comb.
And the Dominique has that rose comb.
Yes.
And it really is confusing to a casual observer, but if you get used to comparing them, you'll see that not only is that comb different, the Barred Rock has a crisper and more defined barring.
Okay.
So it looks more graphic, like a graphic difference between the black and white.
Yeah. You can see it's like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. And on the Dominique, it's a bit more irregular. But the Dominique is still lighter than the cuckoo on the Marans. So if you line the three of them up.
Yeah. We've put up pictures of my cuckoo Marans before and had people mistaken them for Barred Rocks.
Yeah, easy to do.
It's very easy to do. But the one thing with the cuckoos is it's much harder to see those bars and it's more staggered.
Well, the cuckoo Marans, right,
yeah.
right.
On the Barred Rocks, it's you can definitely see.
It almost goes in a gradation. Like the Barred Rock is the clearest with the barring.
Definitely.
And then the Dominique, their black and white barring is a little more irregular. It's a little tighter, like the bars are smaller. And then with the Marans, it's even more irregular and it's a darker overall look.
Exactly. You're not going to see that barring until you're right up on them.
Right.
They're all very beautiful in their own ways.
They're absolutely gorgeous chickens, all of them.
But they do look similar. I can see how it's easy to mistake in them.
Absolutely, yeah. So the Barred Plymouth Rock or any of the rocks are very good layers of large brown eggs.
Now, I will have to say, my Barred Rocks, they're more pink.
Yeah, that happens. It's not a dark brown for them.
No, it doesn't even look brown to me. Like, I can tell the difference between them and the Buff Orpingtons.
Yeah.
Because the Buff Orpingtons have a larger egg, but they're brown.
Yes.
Where these, they're really pretty.
They're very pretty.
They're very pinkish.
Yeah, it is very pretty. They're reasonably friendly with people.
Mine are very friendly. They're not cuddlers. Mine are not.
But they like to hang out and kind of be with you. Kind of like the Swedish flowers, in fact.
So I have a little story. The one day, Tom and Michelle have their truck.
Your neighbors.
Yeah. I was like, okay, it's great. I'm going to take some pictures with the chickens. So I decide to take Poppy out. Because Poppy is my Plymouth Barred Rock that has the largest comb out of
Bright
them.
red, too. She's really pretty.
And I'm like, look, I always take pictures of Buttercup and Bubbles, the buffs, because they're like the supermodels.
Yeah.
And they're good at it, you know?
They know how to work their angles.
They work it, girl. They're like, work it, baby. So I take Poppy out. I put her down, and I'm like, let me back up. And she jets directly into a sticker bush.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
And I'm like, girl, it took me a half an hour to get her out of the sticker bush, where if I'm in the run with her, I can hold her.
Yeah.
I can do anything I want to her. But as soon as you put her out, she's like, forget it. I'm gone.
She wants to go forage.
So in the end, I had to go get Buttercup and let her work it, girl.
Well, they're reasonably friendly with people again, but they do like to forage.
They're good foragers.
They're very good foragers.
And they don't like their pictures taken.
Apparently Poppy doesn't. They can be, this is my word, they can be kind of cliquey in a mixed flock, and like they'll stick in the Barred Rock bunch. And
my three do.
Yeah, and they will bully others occasionally.
Oh, and that has happened.
Yeah.
So I'm just speaking from experience. With a breed that one of us has, it's so easy to bring in your own experiences. The thing is, there's a wide range in everything.
Absolutely.
My experience is they're in the bottom end of the big girl flock.
Yeah.
So they're always trying to get up.
Yeah.
The three of them are always together.
So they have their own little Barred Rock clique.
And then Lucy, who grew up with them, is
kind
of
Lucy
like...
the Leghorn.
She's like, I'm going to go hang with the queens.
Yeah.
Forget all y'all.
Again, I've mentioned before that they were one of our first breeds, and I really liked them. I remember two in particular that I liked, Babette and Sylvia. And they were, again, people-friendly, not cuddlers, but they were people-friendly. Big, beautiful hens.
I will say, though, if you put them in a flock, you need to put them around other chickens who are strong chickens.
So you're saying is if you put them in a mixed flock, don't make them the most assertive breed in the bunch?
I'm saying even it out, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
If you're going to put them in a flock with lavenders or let's say the Faverolles, those chickens are going to be miserable.
Okay.
If you put them where they are with the Cuckoo Morans,
right,
they're giving them a run for their money. So they can kind of hold their own against each other.
Essentially, their assertiveness, their level of assertiveness is similar.
Very.
So you're not putting them in there with like really sweet pushover chickens.
Nope.
Yeah.
Because they will push them over.
Yeah. So the Plymouth Rock is currently on the Livestock Conservancy's recovering list.
Makes sense.
Which is great. They do remain an extremely popular chicken. We think they're a fantastic homestead breed.
I love mine.
Yeah. They're beautiful chickens.
They're beautiful. They're really good layers.
And just because we're saying they can be cliquey and bullies sometime.
Well, it's just to do the research on your breeds and know which ones to put in with them.
Yeah. And again, experiences may vary. You might say, hey, I've got a flock of 10 and my Barred Rocks are super sweet. Well, you only have 2 in a flock of 10. And so that's not quite a click. When we say cliquey, we mean if you have a mixed flock and you have 3 or more Barred Rocks, they can be cliquey and they can bully less assertive chickens. You might have experience to the contrary. But if you have, say, 10 chickens and you only have 2 Barred Rocks, that's not quite enough to make a click.
Do you remember this? When the Barred were babies. And
Your
then
Barred Rocks, yeah.
Yeah, and I had Lucy in there.
Uh-huh.
So I had Poppy, Bernadette, and Penny, which now is Cowgirl Penny because Penny has grown the spurs.
That's right.
Okay.
Right.
And then we got Lucy. In the middle of all that, as babies, they picked on each other to be the highest in that little clique.
Within their clique.
And they gave Bernadette a bald neck from pecking at her.
Oh, I remember that. Didn't she have like an ingrown feather abscess or something?
No abscess. But what they did was they pecked her so badly, and I couldn't take her out by herself.
Right. You can't have a
So we ended up having to go to the vet, and she was put on antibiotics, and he told me to use hot sauce on her skin.
Okay.
To deter them from pecking because they couldn't be separated. So they started that within their own clique.
Right.
But to us, I can hold them. They'll put their heads on my shoulder.
They really are great with people. They're a really nice breed.
Yeah. I definitely wanted to go over that they're very nice. They're just not cuddly.
Right.
And they're going to be jockeying for a position.
Because they're a more assertive chicken.
Yeah, they're definitely a little bit more assertive.
That's survival instinct.
Yeah, they're a strong chicken.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a strong chicken.
No.
I really like them. I think they're beautiful. The eggs are really gorgeous.
Yeah, the eggs are pretty. That sort of pinky brown color is really pretty.
And they're a heritage breed.
Yes, they're a heritage breed that comes with a lot of myths.
A lot of myths.
A lot of myths around this chicken. So, number 1, the Plymouth Rock absolutely did not come to America with the Pilgrims.
This is what we were talking about the other day on the phone when you were doing the research.
Right.
I started looking it up with you. Everyone thinks they're named Plymouth Rock because they came over.
Right on the Mayflower, but the records of the Plymouth Company show that the Mayflower, the initial voyage of the Mayflower, brought no livestock with them to America.
Which both of you and I were like, what were these people thinking?
Yeah, I mean, it was extraordinarily expensive to ship animals.
Yeah,
and a lot of them didn't make it off that terrible journey.
No.
So I mean, just picture this: you are going to a new country that's barely inhabited. You know that there are native people there that don't necessarily want you there.
Right.
You are fleeing from a land where your religion was not tolerated.
Right.
You probably don't have a lot of money. You're willing to work hard, but you're all on this ship for weeks and weeks on end. Everyone could probably use a really good shower. And then what would it be like if you have livestock in the hold with you?
Well, I don't know, because I kind of look at that a little differently. I think the livestock would have been a smart thing to do.
Of course it would have been a smart thing to do. We know for sure that they brought 2 dogs with them on the Mayflower.
We know that. We found that in journals, that there were 2 mastiffs.
Yeah, probably someone with money.
That brought
someone
their
with money,
dog.
right? But a chicken, you could probably keep in an enclosed space with you. I mean,
it lays some eggs.
Yeah.
So you could use the eggs to eat on the voyage.
Right. All this to say that the Plymouth Rock did not come to America with the Pilgrims. In fact, they were developed in America, not in England or any other European country. The fact that the Pilgrims didn't bring anything contributed to what they called the starving time.
Right.
Which is, where the first Thanksgiving came from.
Yeah.
Subsequent ships that arrived in 1623 and 1624 did bring livestock, and it did include chickens.
Yeah.
I think the 1624 ship brought sheep as well.
Yeah. And goats also, I believe.
There's no way of knowing exactly what these breeds were.
You have to go strictly by journaling and what's left.
Right. And the fact that breeds weren't named the same way they are now, it's very geographical, blah, blah, blah. Chances are they would have included rugged breeds like the Dorking and the Sussex. Perhaps some of the English Bantams that do well in small spaces and don't eat tons.
Right.
So you could definitely see those coming over. And as we've said before, the first breed in America was most likely the Dominique.
Correct.
In general, ships heading to the Chesapeake region, bringing settlers to the Chesapeake region, often stopped off at Caribbean islands on the way to procure their livestock. It cost a lot less. The animals tended to live longer.
Because it's a much shorter trip.
Distance, exactly. So Domingue, also called Hispaniola, it's an island that was modern-day Haiti.
Okay.
And that was one island that was really popular for stops. Historians believe that the Dominique came to the U.S. through that island.
Makes sense.
And you see it all through literature. Sometimes you'll see it called the Dominic or the Dominicker.
Yes.
But we prefer the prettier Dominique, so.
Since you own one.
That's right. So there is a Plymouth Rock Fanciers Club.
It's a website.
Yeah, we have the website in our show notes. They've got lots of good information.
It's kind of interesting. It's almost like taking your own little history lesson.
Yeah.
To go back and to look at all these different things. It's really cool.
Oh, wait. The cheerleader finds history interesting.
I've always found history interesting.
Okay.
Always. In college, that was one of my favorite classes.
Really?
Was history.
Okay.
But not all history. Not world history. American history.
It depends on who's teaching it, too.
Yeah.
That makes a big difference.
Well, even just reading about it, I always find American history very fascinating with everything. And it's fun to learn about where they actually come from.
Yeah, it really is interesting. Yeah.
So, I mean,
it makes our relationship with them even more special in some ways.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So
we have a surprise for all of our listeners.
Yeah, we have a very special guest who's going to be joining us in a minute here.
Yes, we have a very, very special guest who probably everyone will know that listens to us by name.
Yeah.
And we are going to bring to you an interview where we sat down with Lisa Steele and got to know her a little bit better.
Yeah, she's fantastic. If by chance you don't know Lisa, she has a blog and numerous books published about the care of chickens, ducks, and geese.
6 books, I believe.
Yeah.
Worldwide.
And Lisa specializes in natural prevention of poultry health problems.
Correct. And she is on Instagram and she is up in Maine. And what we want to do is bring to you that interview now. Enjoy. Let's welcome Lisa Steele. Hey, Lisa,
Hi.
how are you doing?
Thank you guys so much for having me. I've really, really been looking forward to this.
We have too. It's so great to finally meet you and be able to talk chickens, talk life in Maine. So how have you been doing?
Good. I mean, obviously pandemic, everybody's like, life is a lot different, but the silver lining is so many more people have gotten chickens in the last year. I mean, tons of new people. And I think that it has been really great. It was sort of a wake-up call for people to maybe be a little more self-sufficient, maybe think a little bit more about providing some more of their own food, because you can't always rely on a supply chain for lots of reasons. We just saw that with the pipeline thing last week too. And I think that if there's any good to come out of it, I think that's one of the good things. Plus drive-ins. Everybody loves drive-ins, or I love drive-ins. I'm so excited that a lot of drive-ins opened up because I think they're super fun. And I think this generation of kids might not have, been able to have the opportunity to go to a drive-in, except that a ton opened up this past year.
It's so funny you say that because we had, before all this started, one of the last drive-ins left in the entire country with about 20, 30, 35 minutes from us.
Yeah, Benji's drive-in.
And it still was going. And it was like, they had this big thing, like keep it open. And now, hey, that's the boom they needed to say, you need us.
They are thriving. It's true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know some of them that had closed reopened, or they opened them in, mall parking lots or something like that. And I feel like that was a really great thing, because I don't know about you guys, but I have great childhood and teenage drive-in memories.
Yes.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I even went on a few dates to the drive-in.
Probably did too. I don't remember.
Funny.
So, since we're coffee with the chicken ladies, that we're going to have to ask you, how do you take your coffee?
I'm like a marketer's dream, because anytime Coffee Mate or one of those comes out with a new flavor, I am all about it.
Me too.
I'll try it at least once, but I usually go back to my standard is just a really good coffee. We actually use a local Maine brewery, and he's a veteran, like a Navy veteran and stuff. So I like supporting the local coffee company, and we get it by subscription, but I definitely add heavy cream and sugar. And that's just kind of like my go-to.
Oh yeah, that sounds so good. And I am all about flavor creamers. One of my favorites is Almond Joy. I think because of the coconut in it. And
I like that one.
Yeah, my husband's like, "Did you look at the calories?" I said, "No, I can't look at the calories on the creamer." No.
It's just a splash. It's just a splash. I mean, I try like every new flavor, and I don't stick with them. But Almond Joy is one I go back to. I do like that one.
What's your favorite? Like, which one of your all-time faves?
If I had to go to, I keep going back to hazelnut, but I feel like that's just like so boring and pedestrian.
But
it's so good though.
It's a classic.
It's good. One I don't love is vanilla. I'm not a huge vanilla, and I love vanilla like in baking and stuff, but I'm not really a big, and I don't like flavored coffees. I tried flavored coffees for a while. I don't like them at all. I prefer just like a straight bean and then add your flavoring to it. Because we live in Maine, we learned when we moved here 6 years ago that you're supposed to add coffee brandy to your coffee. Oh. So we add a splash of Allen's, which up until recently was the best-selling liquor in Maine. And there's some crazy statistic, like they sell like 5 gallons a year, like for every adult in Maine or something crazy. Like people drink a lot of it.
Wow.
That sounds really good to me.
Just a splash of the coffee brandy, some heavy cream and sugar, and I'm good to go. And 6 cups of coffee later. Yeah, that's my coffee.
I'm on 5 for today, I think.
Yeah, that's about right. So Lisa, what do you like best about Maine?
Well, I grew up in Massachusetts and went to college in Rhode Island. And I've just always been like an East Coast New England girl. I love the seasons. I love that the seasons match up to the holidays. So like at Christmas, we have snow and we go cut down a tree. And, at Easter, there are baby bunnies and things are blooming. And, like 4th of July, there's corn and watermelon. Like everything makes sense to me. When we lived in Pensacola, the seasons all of a sudden didn't make sense because like it was hot and we were going to get a Christmas tree and flip-flops. And like by July, my whole garden was dead, because it had burnt up in the sun. So like, I have to believe most holidays were probably invented like in Boston, maybe.
Maybe.
So like Thanksgiving so like at Thanksgiving, you're harvesting your pumpkins, like all the seasons just make sense to me in Maine, which is probably a weird reason to live here, but
it's kind of the same here in the Mid-Atlantic. The seasons go with everything,
Yeah, we still have the seasons here.
Although the summer is super hot, and humid, so that's the only bad part. We get through it. And then fall, you're like, fall's here. And it's so
and you have the colored leaves and it's all like brown and orange like Thanksgiving. And it just, life needs to make sense to me. And like, that's one thing that makes sense to me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So if you had a visitor, where would you send them for the best Maine flavor?
Absolutely. Just drive up Route 1 and stop at any little rundown lobster shack. I mean, you honestly can't go wrong.
Okay.
The seafood is so fresh. And I mean, I've had lobster rolls at all random places and they've never been bad. Like you just can't go wrong. And you're going to get it cheaper than going to a restaurant. You don't want to pay, $25 or $35 for like a split stuffed lobster. Like you either need to just get it just flat out steamed in seaweed or a lobster roll. Like, I don't think there's really any other way you should eat lobster because it's just great by itself.
Before kids, my husband and I would come to New England every spring for like a 4-day. We would fly into Manchester, New Hampshire, and then stay there and just drive all the way up. We have one of these really great memories of Perkins Cove, which is so cool. It's beautiful there. So we walked the whole cove. The town was so quaint. And then we had a lobster roll up on the hill. I can't remember the name of the restaurant, but it was delicious. It was just so beautiful. Maine is gorgeous. It's so pretty.
So it's like stepping back into like the 1950s, like our gas station, the pump has like the clicky numbers.
Oh, wow.
Like it's not digital.
Yeah.
Like just weird random things like that. Like I love it. I mean, I absolutely love living here. I happen to love snow. I mean, I'm Scandinavian, so I think like it's in my DNA also to like live in snow.
Right. Oh, most definitely.
I love the snow. I kind of miss it. Like when it all melts, like I get sad, because I'm like, oh, we won't have more snow till next October or whatever.
I don't know. We've been watching. You get a lot of snow.
A lot of snow.
A lot.
We had snow 2 or 3 weeks ago, I guess. We usually get snow into May. I mean, it doesn't last long. And it's crazy because like the snow melts and like 2 days later, the grass is green and there's tulips blooming. It's like everything was just ready for that flip. We have lilacs blooming now and azaleas. And so we just like dive right into spring once the snow goes away.
That sounds beautiful too.
It sounds amazing. So we wanted to ask you, what does the average day in your life kind of look like? From like getting up to like, what do you do for an average day?
I don't have an average, which is really good. I don't really like routine, but I mean, for the chickens, you have chickens, you kind of get up at sunrise. So like in the winter, that might be, 8 or 8:30. In the summer, it could be like 4:30. So I get up sort of at sunrise and, let the chickens out, feed them. Sometimes in the winter, I try to get away with like a cup of coffee or two before I go out, because it's still really cold and dark, whatever. But in the summer, I feel bad. So I go out, feed them, let them out into their run, give them their water, check for eggs. And then I'm the only one up usually. Sometimes the cat wakes up that early with me. So it's like my quiet time and I have my coffee. I check my email, I check all my social media, check my analytics, whatever. I don't really do anything like hardcore, and then depending on what the day is like maybe I have a podcast, maybe I'm editing my book, or maybe I'm writing a blog post, or I have like my big thing for the day,
Right.
And then I'm like a big grazer. So I'll nibble on just like whatever. Like I told my husband when he retired and we moved here, I'm not like a short order cook. So there will not be 3 meals a day. I will make you dinner.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of how it is in our house.
Kind of like fend for yourself, there's stuff. And we do have a lot of happy hours. I have to say, even in the last year, it's been like, 2, 3 o'clock. And I'm like, time for happy hour. And we'll, pour some wine or he'll have a beer and I'll put out some nibbles or whatever snacks. I let the chickens out sometime in the afternoon. And then, a lot of phone calls, a lot of this, a lot of that, whatever. And then again, social media, like all day long. Someday I just walk around and take pictures a lot of times. And then I do make a nice dinner every night. I will say that. And then after dinner, I'm such a morning person that like I'm done with my day. So it's like time for wine. And then, we'll watch a movie or, a lot of times I'll edit photos. I'll answer questions, like do stuff that's kind of mindless. But, I do that for like a couple hours until bedtime. And that's
Your
really
day
my day.
it kind of sounds like ours.
It's pretty similar.
It's very similar. For me, you just inject 2 kids running around in between. But it sounds very similar. Like, when I get up in the morning, I try to have a cup of coffee and do social media and everything first. And then I just can't wait to get to the girls, to get to the chickens. And I have 3 Cavalier King Charles Spaniels. Holly Ann has 2 dogs. So
I don't really need children because I have 5 sheep.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I can't even. I give so much credit to like anybody who tries to do anything with small children. I can't even understand the concept. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah. Well, that's why we have at least Friday is we record every Friday. So we have Fend for Yourself for Friday. And they still come to me. They're 11 and 16. And they're like, what's for lunch? I'm like, the house is full of food. Make something. Seriously.
Yeah, no lunches. We learned that early on. I think my husband, like when he retired, he thought I'd be making him like a made-to-order breakfast, a lunch, and a dinner. And I was like, you can't do that. Who has time for that? And when you have kids,
I totally agree.
Like kids, you can't just not feed. Like that doesn't work.
I 100% agree with you. I always say to my family, I'm like, I'm not a short order chef. Seriously.
Right.
There's food here. Make it. You know how to do it. So, yeah.
Yeah, meal prep is too much. Like just dinner is enough for me. And we always have, like sandwich makings, and I'm a big leftover eater. So like I'm thrilled to just eat like whatever's left over from dinner, or all I have like cheese or nuts or whatever. So yeah, I do enjoy cooking, and I like the dinner. Like, we have music on or we'll have the news on. I pour my glass of wine, and I love prepping and chopping, and like that kind of like sets the mood for the evening. So I do enjoy that.
What's your favorite type of wine?
Our local gas station with the flippy numbers / feed store / whatever actually carries it. Apothic Red, I think it's called.
Yeah, that's
yes, I've had that before.
It's like really $8 a bottle, and we can just drive 2 miles down the street and get it. So that's been like my go-to wine because it's really good.
Yes.
And
is it a blend? It's a blend.
It's a blend.
Right?
It's a red blend.
I've had that same exact wine. Yeah. It's really good. And I think a friend of mine, a really close friend of mine, brought it to the house. And she was like, I had this. It's so good. You got to try it. And I tried it. I was like, oh my God, it is really good. It's a blend.
Yeah, it's a very pleasant wine. And I usually buy like 3 bottles at a time because it's so cheap.
Exactly. That's the best kind of wine. Definitely.
Okay, this is the question we've been dying to ask you. Do you have any chicken decor in your house?
Okay, I'm going to give you an exclusive. TMZ has come to me, but I'm going to give you the exclusive. The answer would be no.
I'm shocked. I was
Yeah,
swallowing coffee while you said that.
yeah. The most I have is in my office, I have a little lamp that has like a cast iron chicken as the
Okay.
base. Someone sent it to me years ago and it was red and it had a red shade with fringe and it looked like it belonged in a whorehouse, honestly. And I was like, this is weird, but I kind of like it. So I threw the shade away. I spray painted it like a cream color. I bought a new shade at Home Depot, cream colored, and it's just very subtle and it's a beautiful little lamp. So if the person who sent it to me is listening, I apologize because I really do love the lamp, but it needed a little bit of a redo. But yeah, people send me stuff all the time. Or like when I do book signings and people come, like they bring me things, like chicken t-shirts and I leave them all in the room for the hotel staff. So don't bring me things because I don't usually, I'm flying usually. I don't have room.
Right.
Totally.
And I don't wear chicken t-shirts, none of that. Like I have the real thing. I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
So
We're
yes,
kind of like on that
chicken
crazy
stuff.
chicken lady where our husbands were comparing how many chickens are in each other's houses. So then our other question to go along with it is, do you collect anything vintage? Like I'm a big collector of Pyrex. So I was wondering if you collected any Pyrex.
I did see that you had put that in the notes. I do actually have my grandmother's big Pyrex mixing bowl.
Okay.
Nice.
It's a big pink one. And she also gave me a blue one. My mom has the yellow set. And that's like what I remember her cooking with and all that.
Right.
And then I got hooked on Pyrex and I started looking on eBay and like buying like random sizes and the different colors and that. So collecting is weird now because it's so easy. I mean, you really can just go on Amazon or eBay and like search and it's not really collecting. Like I used to collect little vegetable timers, timers shaped like vegetables. But before the days of the internet, so you would have to like stumble across one like at a yard sale or at an antique store. And like that was sort of challenging. Like now I kind of feel like if you want to collect something, you can be on eBay for half an hour and have like a collection.
Yeah.
You can,
We do it old school. We go to thrift stores and yard sales and I call it in the wild.
It's really the thrill of the hunt.
It's the thrill of finding something for $1.50. You're like, I found this for $3.
My mom was a big yard sale person. And when I was a kid, because my parents were both teachers, like we didn't have a ton of money. And we would go around on Saturdays to yard sales and she would let us buy like literally any toy we wanted because it was like 25 cents. I had the Fisher Price, everything. I had the airplane, the school, the hospital, the farm. And like people, kids from my class would come over for like a slumber party or whatever. And they were like, oh my God, you have like Fisher Price, everything,
Yeah.
I was like, none of them are new. They're all from yard sales. And like, we just had so many toys because she just let us buy whatever we wanted.
That's awesome.
That's nice.
It was great.
Yeah. Like I kind of have my girls, they're all into like, if we're driving by, they're like, Mom, there was a yard sale. And I'm like, whoop, turn the car around. Let's go and see what's going on. And then they'll be like, I think there's some Pyrex. And I'm like, where? Or,
whether there's really Pyrex or not, they think there's Pyrex.
And Holly Ann and I we're not good going to the thrift store because we try to spot things before each other.
Yeah.
And then she'll be like, you tried to speed up and get in the aisle before me. And
I may have said that the last time we went to a thrift store. I think I did. Yeah.
I love them. I mean, as a kid, same too. My mom went to thrift stores and like, it was all name brand stuff, because you can get that for this, but as a kid, like you don't want to be wearing like secondhand anything. And I'm like, now kids, I'm sure it's cool, to be wearing like secondhand clothes or whatever. And I mean, I honestly had better quality clothes because she was buying them secondhand. And in fact, I went to a Goodwill last summer and I got an egg steamer. It's like a little pot with a steamer basket.
Nice. Yeah.
It was like 25 cents. And I was like, oh my God, this is such a steal. I love this.
I know.
That is a great bargain right there.
That is the thrill of the hunt.
So we're going to change gear a little bit, talk about chickens. We were really interested in the heritage breeds that you chose this year and why you chose those specific breeds instead of your usual gray and black theme.
Yeah, I do. I don't know how I fell into that. I think I started with the Australorp, which I absolutely love. I mean, it's just a great all-around chicken, great layers, great moms. They're pretty. And I love the way the sun looks on the black feathers and all this. And then this lavender, I started falling in love with like the lavenders and blues.
Me too.
I was like, I have this like black and blue kind of chicken theme going and they look beautiful in the yard, so I kind of went with that. So yeah, this year I veered off a little bit. I did get Rhode Island Reds, which are great. I mean, my grandparents raised them and they're a super hardy breed. If you just want like a good no nonsense chicken, same with Barred Rock, super hardy. The secret again, TMZ wanted this story, but I will give it to you. I'm actually not keeping this year's chickens because I knew I was going to be traveling. So I did get them from Meyer Hatchery, but I knew that I was going to be giving to a friend. So I let her pick the breeds she wanted. She picked the heritage, and I was wondering if anybody would pick up on that. And somebody did actually comment like, oh, you're straying away from your normal colors.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not choosing these chicks. I mean, the heritage breeds are great. Like even people who are going to do meat birds, I always recommend like just get a heritage breed. They're large and they're dual purpose usually. And, they're going to be healthier and I think a better chicken than going the like full on broiler meat bird route.
Yeah.
But that was funny because I was like, oh, you're not picking my colors. What are people going to say?
That's the first thing we thought.
That's what we said. It's like, wait, I think I texted Chrissy. I said, wait. I think Lisa Steele is getting heritage breed chickens. I saw Barred Rocks and I know I saw Rhode Island Reds.
We were like, Lisa, what are you doing?
I think she did pick Australorps also, though. Oh, and then she picked some of those steel eggers, which, well, she didn't pick those. Meyer just sent those because I hadn't gotten any. So I'm kind of anxious to see what those come out like.
Yeah.
So my husband got to pick, he wanted his own chicken this year. So we have 13 hens and now we have the 6 babies. And so he, being a guy, is like, I want the #1 egg production chicken. So we have a Rhode Island Red chick, just one. And I was like, you better hold her constantly because you got to make her really sweet and love those hugs. So he's out there and she falls asleep on them. But we hold them so much, so we're hoping. And she's super friendly already. So we're like,
yeah, they're not. I had them early on. Like my very first batch, I got 2 Buffalo Orpingtons, 2 Australorps, and 2 Rhode Island Reds. That was like my very first batch of chickens as adults. And I mean, Orange Chicken, that was her name. So I was super inventive with her name. So I called her Orange Chicken. I mean, she wasn't mean or anything, but she wasn't like wanting to sit on my lap. But I mean, she was a good layer and she never caused any problems. She wasn't like super dramatic or anything.
Yeah.
She was fine.
So he named her Spicy. But she's a lap sitter. She jumps right up on your lap and sits down. So I'm like, somehow I picked her. I got the one cuddly one out of the bunch. So
well, it doesn't matter because people ask me all the time. They're like, oh, what are the best breeds for kids? Or what are the best breeds for whatever? And I'm like, the best breeds are the ones you spend time with and handle and get used to you. And, there are some that are super aggressive. Like I don't like Wyandottes. I tried them for a while and I don't find them super friendly. And some are just going to naturally be friendly or, like the Orpington family. But I think any chick that you spend time with and raise, I never recommend people getting pullets. I tried once and I just really wanted some French Morans and a breeder had them close by and I got 3 and I ended up selling them because they just never were as friendly as the ones I raised from day old.
It's something we say on the podcast all the time. You get out what you put into the chickens. So if you're going to pour lots of love into them, there's no way they're not going to, whatever breed they are, know that you love them and give it back to you. So we're just, we just try to pour as much love into them as we can to make them all friendly. Now, I have 2 cuckoo Morans who are great with us, but they want to rule the roost. We're
very assertive.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I tried the blacks. I had the 3 black Morans that I got as pullets. Weren't fitting in. Nobody seemed to like them. I have a blue now who is a lot friendlier. So, I don't know if the blues are better than the blacks or the cuckoos. But yeah, the Morans in general I find the colored egg layers are not as friendly. Like it's almost like they're just like, well, we just lay pretty eggs, so you'll keep us around no matter what.
They're like, we're fancy.
Yeah, we're fancy. Like my Americanas. I mean, it's so funny when someone will say to me, I'll say Americanas are like a little bit nuts. And people are like, oh, my Americanas are my sweetest chickens. And I'm thinking, what the heck else do you have? Like, I've raised a lot of Americanas over the years because I really wanted to get some real nice blue eggs and they've all been crazy. And my Mean Kate is an Americana and nobody likes her. But she lays beautiful eggs.
Poor Mean Kate.
We wanted some blue eggs this year. And so we went slightly different. We got Crested Cream leg bars.
Oh, I love them.
They're amazingly sweet. I've got to say, I didn't expect this personality, but they're amazing.
Shout out to Myers because ours came from Myers also.
Oh, good.
Oh my God, they're like the sleeper chicken.
They really are.
They are amazing. Like once you get them, you're like, how did I not have them before?
The personality is fantastic. They get along with all the other chicken breeds and they lay sky blue eggs. You really can't go wrong with them.
Although I think Lisa should get next. I have a breed that I think you should get.
What's that?
Doesn't match your color theme though, but it does match your love for snow. The salmon Faverolles.
Oh.
They're like, they would be beautiful in snow pictures.
They would be.
They would be gorgeous.
Yeah. So I had 2 of them. One named Praline. I don't remember what the other one's name was. I had him in Virginia before we moved. And the two of them would just like pal around and chit chat with each other. And when we were moving to Maine, I was kind of like downsizing because I didn't want to bring 3 dozen chickens to Maine. And some wouldn't be like, I had antilutions and I knew they wouldn't be super great in the snow because they have huge combs and everything. So I was kind of downsizing. So I put like on Facebook and on Craigslist and I was getting rid of some chickens. So I kind of had my favorites like that I was taking in one pen, everybody else in the other pen. So this guy came with his 2 daughters wanting some of the chickens and they were looking and all of a sudden the girls saw the Faverolles and they were like, oh, they're so cute. So long story short, I ended up giving them my 2 Faverolles. One to each little girl. They were super excited because Faverolles are just so sweet and pretty and whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And then as soon as I left, I was like, I didn't want to give the Faverolles away.
Oh, no.
I love them so
to get
far.
some more. They're super, super cute.
They really
are. And they look like they belong in the movie Frozen.
Yeah, we joke that they're the frozen chicken. Yeah, they would go so well in Maine.
They would. Okay, switching a little bit. What is the biggest medical emergency that you've ever had to deal with your chickens or any of your poultry?
Any of your poultry, yeah.
So really we had chickens for maybe like a year or so, a year and a half. And I wasn't home, fortunately, but a pair of fox dug under our barn into our chicken run. And they killed all but 3 of our chickens who were in the coop laying eggs.
Oh my goodness.
And all of our ducks, like everyone was killed. And I was like at a friend's house overnight and my husband called and like, he actually drove to come get me because he didn't think I could drive home. But yeah, it was awful. Like he cleaned up everything and he actually had to like euthanize one chicken that was in really bad shape. Orange chicken survived. She was laying an egg. Charlotte, my Australorp, who we just lost her like 2 years ago. So she lived another 7 years.
That's
and
amazing.
Then Lucy, who I forget what she was, but she actually was attacked, but she made it. And she had like some kind of neurological, like one of her nerves was like pressing on something. And it got to the point where I had to have her put down from the attack. So we really only had 2 survivors, but it was awful. And like, I thought I had done everything right, but I hadn't realized that fox would dig under, like I had sunk the fencing all around the run, but not where the run hit the barn. So they went under the barn and came up under. And the chickens were all in their run. I mean, they weren't even free ranging. Like I thought I was being super.
Sometimes they're so savvy that no matter what you do, like with our run, we decided to fan out 3 to 4 feet at the bottom and then bury and dig over all the way around so that even if something came up to where they thought they could dig under, there was no way they could dig to get under.
Right.
Anything.
And they're not smart enough to like back up 4 feet and try again. But I think, and this is actually a good tip. Like I think people often forget where their run is attached to their coop. Like you need to put the fencing down there too.
Yeah.
That's what I missed. And it was awful. And like those 3 survived. Like I was almost done. I was like, I hate chickens. I don't want to like take care of them. I hate everything about it.
It's so traumatizing.
It's really traumatizing. It's hard to come back from that.
Yeah. I had one Americana who was getting bullied. So I had her in a smaller cage that was like 5 feet by 10 feet with her sister, like during the day, but it was really close. And I didn't realize it, but a fox had dug under and got her sister and attacked her. We caught it quick enough, but it's just hard. It hits you hard.
People underestimate. I always say free ranging, it's super dangerous. And like, if you decide to free range, you're going to lose chickens. I mean, there's no way, it's just going to take one time. And people like, they argue or they don't believe it or whatever until it happens to them. And they're like, I was right out there with them. Like fox, they're super bold. And I mean, I've learned a lot of things over the last 12 years. And we fortunately have coyotes here.
We do too.
I think they keep the fox population down, and the coyotes are not as apt to come out during the day. Like I would rather deal with the larger. Like I wish we had a bear or like a werewolf or something. Because the larger predators are easier. I'm terrified of weasels. The smaller ones are definitely harder to keep the chickens safe from. The bigger the predator, I feel like the easier it is to keep the chickens safe. But I'm glad we have coyote that kind of keep the fox down because the coyote is less likely to come out during the day.
That's what Holly and I were saying. Right. We only supervise free range. We have a lot of people asking us also, and that's all we do. I'm within 10 feet of my chickens at all times.
Oh, yeah.
And, I'm still worried. I'm still like 100% looking around because a hawk could come above, a fox could come out and you don't even know it. So
your neighbor's dog. I mean, dogs terrify me more than anything because, if a fox comes out and you start yelling and screaming or, shoot off a gun or whatever you do, they're going to take off. But a neighbor's dog is not going to be afraid of you yelling and screaming and whatever. And that really terrifies me because you don't want to like shoot a neighbor's dog.
Yes.
My girls and I have a plan. So usually the three of us are out together. So that's 3 of us to 13 hens, or sometimes 3 of us to 8 because we have 2 different flocks. So our plan, we said, okay, if a dog comes up, because we're on 3 acres, no fence. If a dog comes up, we go to the dog versus the chickens and try to get the dog.
Absolutely.
So that we're not trying to run 8 plus whatever chickens.
Chickens.
So we've had that plan in motion all along, just in case. But you got to think ahead.
Really,
exactly. And that's a good one. It's a good plan.
It's one of the first pieces of advice that when people who are new to chickens come to us, one of the first things we say is predator proof.
Yeah.
I've had chickens for 20 years. We actually do a coop and a freestanding yard around it.
Yeah, we do
That's
too.
fortified because my sister and I lost most of our first flock of chickens. So I don't think we can underestimate how important that predator proofing is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. I see, especially on Instagram now, because like everyone's getting chickens and they're posting pictures of their coops, and like they have this beautiful coop that they had custom built, and then they have the run and it's like made out of chicken wire. And I'm just like, that chicken wire is not going to keep anything out.
It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when something's going to happen.
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
Definitely. So now we're going to change a little bit into our segment called Cracking the Eggs. And we thought it would be great for everybody as a treat to have Lisa bring one of her tried and true egg recipes to us for cracking the eggs. So Lisa, what recipe did you bring this week?
So I brought my Eggs Benedict. I get asked a lot if I could only have eggs one way for the rest of my life, what that would be. And it would definitely Eggs Benedict. Once you have chickens, you have so many eggs and you get tired of scrambling them. You decide you need to master the hollandaise sauce and the poached egg, which, it's all about the timing. Like you have to get your English muffins toasted when your eggs are poached and when your sauce is done. But like, I had so much fun practicing it, like years ago. And like, once you master it, like, although I am not a short order cook, every once in a while I'll say to my husband, like, do you want Eggs Benedict tomorrow for breakfast? And like, that's like a huge treat. It's like, it's fun to make. It's just so like glamorous and delicious.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
Definitely.
Hollandaise sauce is one of those things. I mean, I know I can't eat it every day, but if I could, I would. It's so good.
It's so good. So what we're going to do is have a link to Lisa's recipe.
I will link to Lisa's recipe in our
so
show
that
notes.
Everybody can go and look at it and try to make it.
Hollandaise is tricky, like it breaks. And if it breaks, it's fine because it's so delicious. Like it doesn't matter. Like you're not serving, Gordon Ramsay, or you're not on Top Chef. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And your photos of the Eggs Benedict look beautiful.
They look
beautiful.
scrumptious.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's really, I think every time I make it, I take new pictures and like update the blog because, our egg yolks are so bright orange.
Yes.
It's like the hollandaise comes out like a really weird color. Like not like the color you get if you have it at a restaurant.
Right.
It's really hard to photograph. And I've made it. I mean, a lot of times we don't have English muffins, so I make it on just like rustic bread or just a regular piece of toast, or sometimes not even with bread. Like just put hollandaise over an egg or over asparagus. Like there's a lot of different things you can do.
I really love it over asparagus.
It's
also.
delicious.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it really is.
It's definitely good. And plus, you could add the asparagus to it as a little spice up to the egg and the hollandaise and put it all together. That would be so good because asparagus is so good with eggs.
So Lisa, we know that you're a master gardener for Maine. Do you grow your own asparagus?
I did in Virginia. We had just gotten it going. Like, it takes asparagus like however many years, we had just gotten them up and they were kind of like pencil size. And I think we had our first harvest in Virginia and then we moved to Maine, and I have not gotten it started again. I really should. A close friend, in fact, the one who has the chicken, they have asparagus, which they bring us. Like we do the barter system a lot up here. So like,
nice.
We didn't have chicken, so we had the eggs, and I grow a lot of garlic. So we always have like eggs and garlic to barter. And then we barter with like our one neighbor gives us potatoes and another gives us, asparagus. So
that's perfect.
I didn't really feel the need to grow, but it is fun to grow. It just takes time. It's one of those things.
Yeah.
Like they say, when's the best time to plant a tree? And the answer is like 20 years ago. Like as soon as you buy your house,
like that. Yeah.
You need to start planting trees because you're going to regret it. Asparagus, you kind of have to get in the ground the second you buy your property.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, to get the bed established. Yeah.
Most definitely. Okay, so you have 6 books out and then the cookbook coming. Which of them is your personal favorite?
So that's super hard because, like, first of all, you're not supposed to pick a favorite like with kids, but I mean, my
we
first
had to
book,
ask though.
I know. My first book was my first book. Like, how could you not love your first book? Well, my second book was my duck book, which I love our ducks. Like if I could only pick chickens or ducks, I would pick ducks hands down every time. And then I wrote a kid's book, which was super fun because I had an illustrator and it was like such a different experience,
Right.
So those three were also different. But then the next three were sort of a series, Gardening with Chickens, the Hacks book, and then my DIY book. And, it's projects and it's just things that I love. I'd say probably my first book because it was just, like a publisher took a chance on me. And
Nice.
Yeah.
it's kind of like what I do. I wrote it 8 years ago now, I guess.
Mhm.
And I'd say 90% of what's in there I still do. I still swear by. I mean, we're always learning, sometimes I'll do something and someone will say, well, in your book, you said, and I'm like, well, that was 8 years ago. Like,
exactly.
If we're not learning, and with chickens, there's not a lot of studies out. I mean, some studies have come out in recent years. And interestingly enough, a lot of them do actually kind of reinforce things that I was doing back then, which makes me really happy because I felt like I was doing the right thing. But I just love the whole concept of like using herbs and edible flowers and not using chemicals.
I actually have your Gardening with Chickens book and I love it. It's amazing. I like looking at your pictures in there.
That was a fun one too. Fun fact. You guys had Kate from Drinking with Chickens on a few months ago. She actually took a lot of the pictures from that book because we had just moved to Maine. And I was like, it was August. I was like, I can't write a gardening book in Maine in August because like I don't have time to plant things, whatever. So a lot of the pictures in that book Kate took because she lives in California and had the flowers in the garden. And she has Veruca, who looks just like my Violet.
Okay.
So it's actually not Violet in the book, it's Veruca.
That's funny.
We love Kate. She is the sweetest. And we're like, when we talk to her, her pictures in her book, I joked, I said, the girls are always like, are you looking at that grown-up book again with the drinks? I'm like, I like the pictures.
There's something
Kate's great.
She is. She's amazing.
Yeah, she's so fun.
So can you tell us a little bit about the inspiration that's kind of made you pivot a little bit and focus on a cookbook this time?
I kind of always, I love to cook and, I had the idea for a cookbook and I pitched it to my publisher who did, Gardening with Chickens and all my other books a few times. And they were sort of interested, not really. And they made me kind of an offer, but they weren't really, 100% into it.
Right.
So I said, you know what, if I'm going to do a cookbook, I want to do it right. And I need to get an agent. I need to, do the whole deal. So I did. I interviewed a bunch of agents and this was all pre-COVID. So I found an agent and he loved the idea, was super excited. Pitched it to a bunch of publishers. And I actually did talk to my editor at Quarto, who was super nice. And he totally understood. He's like, we can't offer the budget or the photography, like the whole thing that a big publisher can. And he got me out of my contract and he was super cool about it. So they pitched it around and then COVID started. And I think I got 3 offers and HarperCollins was really the one I wanted. And theirs was the best offer. So I took that offer and signed the contract in June. So it gave me something to work on because I was kind of working on it all along because my agent said, somebody is going to be interested. So why don't you just start working on it while I'm pitching it? But I think COVID just more reinforced to me that A, life is short. B, you can never take anything for granted. And I realized that I didn't want to like be on my deathbed and be like, I wish I had written a cookbook. I felt like it was time and I didn't want to write it. In fact, Tom, my editor at Quarto, when COVID first started, he wanted me to write another chicken book, like just a basic beginners, because I wrote my first 2 books with a different publisher. And I was like, Tom, like, I get it. Everyone's getting chickens. I think it would be great. He's like, you could write it quick. We could push it out quick. Like, it wouldn't be a big deal. And I was like, right, it wouldn't be. I could write it in my sleep. But my heart wasn't in it. Like, I didn't really have anything else to say about chickens. And so I turned that offer down. And I know pivot was kind of like the word of last year because everybody was pivoting to try to save their business. But in a way, I kind of pivoted away from, like, chickens blew up. My blog blew up. My book sales blew up. Like, they were more than double. But I pivoted kind of like away from what was working. But it was something I needed to do for me. I just really, really wanted to write a cookbook. And I realized that that's what I'm passionate about. I love my chickens, but what I'm really passionate about is cooking.
That's awesome. I mean, I think sometimes our hearts take us to certain places and you have to follow your heart and your passion because it's truly what's going to make you so happy and all of this. Like, Holly and I, we've been best friends for 40 years and, we, so we love to get together, talk chickens over coffee and what can we do to make this real? And our, like you just follow your heart and that's never going to lead you wrong. Your heart will never lead you wrong.
you end up exactly where you belong. And, at first when I turned down Tom, I was like, was that dumb? Because a chicken book actually did come out pretty soon after COVID started, shot to the top and it's selling a bazillion copies and this and that. And I'm like, maybe I should have just done it just for like the quick buck and whatever. And then I was like, no, because I would not have been excited about it.
Yeah. So much of the advice in your first book, because you're focusing on preventative healthcare, so much of that just holds true.
Definitely.
It's good basic stuff. The other thing was we were totally excited when we heard about your cookbook deal. We felt like it was one of our chicken people who was stepping out into this amazing realm of cookbooks. It's really exciting.
It's so exciting. We can't wait till it comes out. And I mean, you have to follow your passion. I mean, that's my thing in life is follow your passion.
People are going to respond to that. People do things for various reasons. If people start blogs or podcasts or whatever for various reasons or write books. But you can tell the people who are just doing it for the money and the people who honestly love what they do. And I felt like I was getting bored with, I've been doing this since 2012 and like every day posting pictures of chickens. Like how long can you sustain that? And I can still do both. I mean, my blog's not going anywhere. My books are hopefully not going out of print, but this is going to just be a whole new group of people who hopefully I'll encourage some of them to raise chickens, and it just made sense. It was the next step. And I'm just beyond thrilled. Like writing for HarperCollins has been like, we had 5 people on the photo shoot for the recipes. I took the photos for my first 2 books myself and then had a photographer for the next 3, but it was just one photographer. She came for like a couple days. And this is like whole next level of, do you want hair and makeup for the photo shoot and like, go get a manicure. And it's been fun.
Nice.
It's what got me through COVID because I need something to focus on.
How amazing is it to see a professional staging your recipes? That must be so much fun.
Yeah.
Cooking and staging them. I was having nightmares, like they would make the recipes and nothing would work. And it was kind of nerve-wracking to sit there and watch them make the recipe and then like stage it and prop it. But then, they would finish and they'd be like, hey, who wants a bite? And, these professional food people were tasting them and loving them. And I was like, this is beyond, I'm so excited because I'm just a huge like Food Network junkie and Top Chef. And
we are too. We are too.
Yeah.
I'm just excited. Like I follow, so Kelsey, who won Top Chef last year or the year before, Kelsey Bernard Clark has chickens. So we like chit chat on Instagram and it's just so like, I'm like, oh my God.
On our end, it's just amazing to see a fellow chicken person doing it.
I've done a ton of like morning shows and talk shows and talking about chickens, but like, I'm excited to see which ones I get booked on to promote the cookbook. But then I can also promote chickens, which is going to be super fun.
That's amazing.
That's the beauty of it. It's really amazing.
Yeah.
Which kind of brings me to this question. Which do you like better, writing the books or doing the videos?
I mean, I like both. And I guess the better question would be, which do you like better, like doing that or doing social media? Like social media to me, you spend so much time creating content and once it's down 2 or 3 posts, it's just gone.
Yep.
You spend so much time like taking the photos and coming up with the captions and this and that.
Yes.
And they're just gone. And like I scroll back and I know no one's looking at it after like a week or so. So I love creating content that is lasting, that is going to be archived basically, and people are going to keep reading or watching or whatever.
Yes.
So I do like both. I mean, I like the books because I obviously don't have to take a shower and do my hair and stuff. But, I like the video or the TV show or whatever because it's just something that's so different.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love doing podcasts because I feel like people are turning to them because social media has just gotten so awful. And it's a way that you can get information without having to read all the nasty comments and the drama in that. I have people, I've been on like Joe Lampel and like Melissa Norris, some of the garden podcasts, and like years later, someone will say to me, I just watched the podcast that you were on with Melissa. And like they find me through a podcast they did 4 years ago. That's not happening on social media. It's just constantly grinding out content.
We definitely get what you're saying about social media because that's, where we are. We're building our following right now. So we pour 1,000% into all of our content to give everybody the best that we can. So yeah, we definitely feel you on that. That's for sure. But podcasts are great because everyone can listen to you and everybody's multitasking these days. So they can listen, get the information, be cooking dinner, drinking wine.
Cleaning the chicken coop.
Yeah. So they can hear you. And then when they hear you on here, they're going to be like, I need that cookbook. So I can be cooking while listening.
Exactly. Or they come follow me on social media. I mean, there is a crossover, but I feel like podcasts, I just reach people. And plus I get to talk about things that I wouldn't necessarily talk about, on a
Yeah.
blog
Yes.
post or, on social media. So it's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, the ones I listen to of people that I do follow or like you feel like it's sort of, you get like an exclusive because I mean, I've talked about Bachelor on podcast. Like I go on to talk about
Right.
chickens. We end up talking about Bachelor or whatever it is,
My girls and I
fun.
are Bachelor fans too, so we might have to confer with you after we watch also.
So, Lisa, what has been the biggest surprise as you've worked on the cookbook?
Honestly, the biggest surprise is that I actually am a really good cook. Like I didn't, I guess at first it was just kind of like a pipe dream. And I was like, oh, I want to write a cookbook. And then as things got real and, I was recipe testing and I was doing this and doing that. And then having this whole team test my recipes and, I'm tasting them as they make them. And I was like, these are really good. Like, I mean, it's been almost 2 years since I started just coming up with the recipes. And for a while there, last winter when I was really down to the wire, like every single day I was cooking something and, maybe multiple times. And, I really did improve as a cook and as a baker.
I just had a thought. Now your husband's going to want you to write a second cookbook so you can keep cooking every day.
Keep cooking. Well, some of the things he wasn't quite as excited about, like we had leftovers and I brought some home to my mom's and, before I started back home to Maine today, he was like, you can leave, this and this and that at your mom's. Like there were certain ones that I was like, this is dinner. Cause I mean, I couldn't just cook things that we specifically like. I mean, it is recipes that I like, but you have to have a variety. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So
it was kind of like eating on demand. We ate a lot of eggs this last year.
That brings me into this next question. Is there a favorite recipe of yours or are they all egg recipes on your cookbook?
Yeah. So every recipe does contain eggs, which when I was interviewing agents, I had one agent say to me, do you really think that you can write a cookbook with just egg recipes? And I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I have my mom, once she knew I was writing the book, she started ripping egg recipes out of magazines, or I have like stacks of egg recipes. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think you could ever run out of because they can be sweet, they can be savory. There's just so many ways to cook eggs. So
Yeah.
I had to cut down the recipes I have enough recipes for another whole book. Like there are just so many ways to use eggs. They're not always like the star, but yeah, there's eggs in every recipe. It's not a vegetarian cookbook by any means because like I love a good cheeseburger, I love bacon, but there's not a lot of meat in it because the eggs are the protein often.
Protein, yeah, of course.
So it should appeal to, a variety of different, Whole30 or keto or whatever. But my favorite egg recipe, like in the whole wide world, is creme brulee. So
nice.
I'd say probably that.
You can't go wrong.
One. Yeah. Well, you were mentioning earlier food security, COVID having people turn towards chicken for food security. I think an egg cookbook is very timely for that.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Chickens in your backyard, a way to use your eggs.
I mean, that's why we try to come out every week with different way to use your egg. And it's endless because almost everything you think of has eggs in it. I mean,
it's hard when you don't have eggs, it's hard to actually come up with something. Like scones and shortbread are kind of like my two baking go-tos. If I have to like bake something and I don't have eggs, scones and shortbread are about the only thing that don't have eggs in them. But it is hard to come up with something that doesn't have eggs in it.
Yeah,
it really is.
Most definitely.
So we're going to wrap up the interview with a few more questions that are aimed at getting to know you a little better. So we know you're a master gardener. What's your favorite flower?
Definitely lilac.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love lilacs. Like we missed them when we lived in the South. We had crepe myrtles, which aren't really the same.
They don't have an amazing lilac smell.
No, they don't. And I grew up, in fact, I just came back from my mom's with a bucket full of lilac shoots that I dug up that the little babies are coming up around. When I was growing up, we had lilacs all over our yard. We have some here. We inherited one bush, which I've since split and replanted. And I have them planted around my chicken run. And I mean, they're edible, which a lot of people don't realize. You can make a jam or jelly. The chickens can eat them, but they smell so good and they're beautiful.
What are the chickens' favorite thing to snack on in the garden?
Well, they love to eat our hostas, which they're not really supposed to eat, but they really go after the parsley. My chickens have their own herb garden next to the coop.
Ours plant, do too.
Because I mean, herb seeds are cheap, so I fence it off, plant all the herbs, and then once they grow, and a lot of them are perennials, like the lavender and the thyme, the oregano, like a lot of things come back, so then I fill in with whatever. But yeah, I think they like the parsley the best.
That's awesome.
We think we know the answer to this one, but we're going to ask it anyway.
We ask everyone this question.
What's your favorite breed of chicken?
All right. What do you think it is?
Australorp.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're great chickens. I mean, there's no downside to them.
They're gorgeous. They're beautiful chickens.
They are beautiful. That's for sure. And then finally, what do you do just to unwind and have fun? That's not about chickens or the farm, just something that you like to do that's fun.
I honestly can't really think the last time that I was awake and not working. I mean, I love what I do, and it sounds so corny, but like when you love what you do, you don't feel like you're working all day. And of course I take breaks and I garden or whatever. I like to knit in the winter.
Another knitter.
Holly Ann's an avid knitter over here.
Yeah, I'm a hand spinner and knitter. I'm really excited. I have an article coming out in the fall issue of Spin-Off Magazine about working with Hog Island sheep wool. I don't know, Lisa, but I might have to send you a little bit of hand spun yarn.
No, that I would take. I love, I'm a big knitter.
Okay.
We lived in Finland when I was in 6th grade. My dad was getting his doctorate, and instead of just doing it here, we decided to go to Finland to like find our ancestors or whatever.
Wow.
So we lived in Finland for a year, and they taught knitting was like a class. So I learned how to knit mittens, and I was like so excited. And my mom doesn't knit. My grandmother was a knitter, but I'm left-handed. So she taught me like sitting, facing me. So I branched out for the mittens. But yeah, I used to knit a ton before I got really busy with this. Like I always have, some kind of knitting project going.
Okay.
Socks, mittens, scarves. I don't like scarves. I do like towels because
towels are nice.
Yeah, they're easy.
Do you do a lot of color work, like the Finnish tradition with the color work? Do you do any of that?
Yeah, I have. No. I actually made like a sweater with the like the Fair Isle or the whatever.
It's
big
intense.
investment. I mean, both time and money. So usually I'm working on like something smaller. I like making like the fingerless gloves.
Mm-hmm. Those are cool.
Or just like nice. The tube with because I wear those, they're super functional and they're quick to whip up. But I have so much yarn. I have so many projects I need to get to.
I feel you. I'm over here like, I need to do this. And then the kids are asking me something and the chickens need something. And then the dogs need something. So we should ask a question about Winston. He's so cute.
Winston.
Does he like the chickens?
He's a rescue, and we got him when he was like 3. So funny story. Alton Brown has corgis, and he found out that Winston was up for rescue at the Virginia Beach Animal Shelter, and he put on his Twitter, someone needs to rescue this corgi, and if they do, I'll send them handmade dog biscuits. I was like, I always wanted a corgi. So my husband agreed. We sent in our application. We had to do this written application, and they picked us. So Alton Brown, actually, he didn't send cookies, but he did send Winston a handwritten note and a whole box of tennis balls. We rescued him, and we don't know that he ever had seen a chicken before. We don't know anything about his background, but he's been so good with them, like right from the start. Like he just lays out there and they just walk around the yard and he doesn't mess with them, or he's great with them.
He's so cute.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's a great story too.
I know.
Yeah, I know, right?
I rescued 2 of my cavies. So 2 of the 3 are rescue brothers that came together, and they're so rewarding. It's almost like they want to thank you every day. Like, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. I think they are our cat. We have a tuxedo cat who also was a rescue. We got him as a kitten, and he and Winston are little buddies. And nice. I mean, every farm needs a barn cat, although Winston lives in the house. I mean, Linus lives mostly in the house, but we call him our barn cat, but he doesn't live in the barn.
He's watching the barn from inside the house.
Yeah. Yeah, and he eats the mice and stuff. But yeah, corgis are good farm dogs. They were built for sliding under fences and all that.
Nice.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to let you go. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
This has been super fun.
It's been so much fun talking and getting to know you.
We would love to have you back on when the cookbook drops.
God, we would love it. We would love to just sit and chat with you over coffee again.
Yeah, that would be fun. It's coming out February 15th of 2022. So we still have a while to wait.
Okay.
And actually, next time I might have wine too. I might have to get the wine that you have.
Maybe wine with the chicken ladies.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. The red blend, which is lovely, which I'm actually out of. I drank my whole glass.
It was so great to talk with you. Take care. Okay, we want to send out a huge thank you to Lisa Steele for sitting down with us this afternoon, coming to the table, drinking some coffee, some wine, and talking chickens. It was so much fun.
It was really great.
And if you guys haven't read any of her books yet, do yourselves a favor. They're amazing. They're great. Holly Ann, she has a new cookbook that's going to be out
February 2022.
It's going to be amazing. It's all about egg recipes.
Gorgeous photos.
And we are going to be excited to have her back on the show. We've now made friends, so it's great.
It's wonderful.
Okay, so why don't we tell everybody what we're going to be talking about next week?
Next week, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite breeds, the Jersey Giant.
That is a great breed.
That is a great breed. We have a round table with the Floof Lady. We're going to be talking about getting a vet for your chickens.
That is really important. And welcome back to Fiona to the table.
Absolutely. Cracking the eggs, egg charcuterie board.
One of my favorites.
And we're going to review the Spalding fly predators.
Something that you don't really want to talk about, but you need to.
And they're really awesome. They make a huge difference on your farm.
Let's face it, flies are bad in the summer when you have livestock of any kind.
Yes.
So this is a good solution. So before we let everybody go, what should we tell them?
Hug your chickens.
Every day and kiss them too. Don't forget. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you'd like to see more of us, please follow us on Instagram at Coffee with the Chicken Ladies. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help us grow the podcast, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you'd like to become a patron of the show so that we can bring you even more high-quality chicken content, please visit our Patreon page, patreon.com/Coffee with the Chicken Ladies. Thanks for listening.